Warning: this program is designed for mature audiences. Topics being discussed are not always safe for young or immature individuals. Be aware of the people around you if listening to this openly. The opinions expressed in this show belong to the person actually making the statement. Remember that opinions are just that and may have supporting evidence or none at all. If you agree, great. If you don't, great. Tell us your views. The conversation has officially begun. There is no right or wrong, us versus them, etc. Speak your mind and be respectful. Now, on to the show. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and to my insomniacs out there, good night to you. My name is Ben Shellbrook, and this is the latest episode of Shellbrook Speaks Out. In today's episode, I'm going to try not to go in too many different directions, but I have a few different viewpoints that I kind of want to touch on, and if you want to respond back to me, I'd love to hear what your thoughts are on the conversation today. So I kind of want to talk on work ethic and corporate America, like some of the decisions that take place in companies today. The work ethic part, it's more geared toward like younger people. And as I stated in my warning, all of this is my personal opinion. So with all that out of the way, I just want to kind of jump right into it and lead into where my thought process is and hopefully hear back from some of the listeners and see where your thoughts are. So I've worked in a managerial position for several years and I've even done it at different locations and even different companies in general. So what tends to happen is in the food industry, your retail positions, they're usually consumed, at least in the evening time, by younger people. Sometimes it's their first job. Maybe they've had multiple jobs, but they have very little experience. And I've noticed a lot that younger crowd, it's almost like they don't have any true upbringing. They're not shown any work ethic. And this doesn't apply to everyone. I mean, if I had to put a percentage to it, I would say probably close to 60% don't understand what work really is. We've had everyone pushing for higher rate or higher pay rates. And then you have a young person coming in for their first job. And usually if you're coming in for your first job, you're going to have a very low level position within that business or company. Most of our people, they either come in as dishwashers, they do sanitation type jobs, or they work up front in retail, running cashiers, drive-throughs, dealing with the public. That tends to be like a low-level job. And when I was coming up, it's, yes, you start at the bottom, you work your way up, and you start at whatever the current pay rate is, and then you move up and progress. If you really excel at the job, then you get rewarded financially when your raises come up, or maybe a raise is created because you've done so well at that position that your boss or manager, whoever that's in charge of doing raises, they create a situation to where they can raise your pay rate based off of the merit or the work ethic that you've shown them. If you have employee A, employee B, employee A is outstanding, does everything you ask. They do even more. They go above and beyond every single time. And then you have employee B that they barely do the job. They don't do it very well. I know you've heard or you've seen these out in the wild. Everyone has encountered employee A and employee B. From the managerial side, I would fight for employee A to make more than employee B. But a lot of youths that we have come in, at least to our locations, they all feel that, well, this person makes this much, I should make that much too. And it's almost like they don't fully understand that each person carries a value, that you need to demonstrate the same capabilities and work ethic as this person if that's the pay rate that you want to achieve. You have to put out in order to receive back. It should not be just, oh, there's a flat rate, this is what everyone makes. I do agree that certain jobs, that there should be like a minimum rate for that it should not be based off of color, sex, religion, any of the ideas that are like on a job application for discrimination. None of that should take place as to how much you're making. What it should come down to is this is what that position is worth, and as an employee excels at that, then yes, you're going to make more. If you don't, then you're going to continue to make the same thing, or you're going to make a minimum raise amount when that time comes around, or you're just not going to end up working there any longer. At some point, you have to cut ties because you're not performing as requested of you. With that being said, it also seems like there's a lot of home training that doesn't take place. And once again, this is not everyone. This is actually a lower percentage. I would say maybe 10% would fall into this category. But we've had younger people come in, mid to late teens. I've even encountered a grown adult in their, if I remember correctly, late 40s, early 50s. And we have people come in, they don't understand how to sweep, how to mop, how to operate a squeegee. I mean, basic utensils that you would use around your own home. And they just look at it like, how do I do this? Yes, I mean, it kind of throws me back a little bit. And I have to step aside and it's like, okay, there's something not quite right with this. When I was younger than this, I was able to do all this at home. And now here I am encountering someone that's roughly twice the age I was when I learned how to do this. And they just look completely lost. And it kind of takes me back a little bit. So I have to kind of bypass over that because I don't want them to feel awkward about it. And then demonstrate, okay, this is how you do this. This is how you do that. And when they're usually trying to do it for the first time, they look extremely awkward doing it. And I try not to point that out to them because I don't want them to feel bad that they didn't know how to do a simple, basic task that most people that I know knew how to do this when they were a child. I mean, granted, they're still a child, but I mean a younger child. This would seem something like you would help your parents do around the house as part of your chores. But that was the big thing that I wanted to kind of cover as far as work ethic and youth. And I'm kind of building into a bigger topic that I'm going to touch on in just a little bit. The next thing I wanted to kind of bring to light are some of the ways that companies and businesses are conducting business or operating. I've noticed it a lot more recently that there is some very poor decision making going on with companies that are in business today. In my current position, I don't want to give out any information that's going to pinpoint me or shine a negative light on the company that I'm working for. I don't want to risk my career, but I can give the basic coverage of what I'm encountering, and I'm sure that it's happening at other companies. So if this is something that you end up having to deal with, please, by all means, let me know. So we have policies and standards just like anyone else would with their job. And a lot of those come from a corporate decision that starts at your main office or your corporate office and trickles its way down through regional or area managers, down to your district, to your local level, and then all the way down to general managers or store managers. And then that information gets spread out through each location. So it kind of trickles down through the chain. And kind of what we've been encountering is at the shop level or a store level, we have things that on paper, like true actual numbers on paper, that if I were personally running that business or that location would be terrible. They would not make any financial sense. If I were to take some of the things that we deal with on a daily basis and pass that over to an accountant, I would expect the weirdest look possible coming back from that accountant and be like, man, what are you doing here? You're not going to be open a year from now. And once we go through all this, we kind of feel responsible that it's up to us to pass this information back up the chain and in hopes that it reaches the main office level in order to kind of rethink things, rehash everything, like at least take a deeper look at what's going on with your company instead of trying to conglomerate multiple locations and make one call for different locations that are completely different areas of the United States or even globally. There are a lot of businesses that, yes, they may be founded or their main office is located in the United States, but they're conducting business overseas in several different countries. And they're taking whatever information they're finding or however they're gathering this data. I don't know if they're just pulling bad data or what the case may be. That's beyond my pay grade. I could understand it, but I don't know where they're pulling their data or information from. That's the part where I'm getting lost. But it seems like they're just taking all of the group information and making one decision, which, yeah, for the company as a whole, that might be the best possible decision. But when you have shareholders that are active along with the company, they have a vested interest in what's going on. They have live money on stake with any of the decisions that are being made. And if I were running a company, I want the company to succeed. And yes, I would take the necessary measures to try to avoid having any really bad calls. Yes, bad calls will happen, and that's just part of the game. You always try to minimize those, though. That's what the whole purpose of your data gathering is for. But what I'm seeing is we have the decisions made at that main office from all the higher ups. Yes, they're all sitting there discussing, having meetings, analyzing stuff, etc. And then it goes down the chain like I mentioned before. And then we're trying to explain from the store level back up, this is what works, this is what does not work. And it almost seems like a blind eye is being turned, or I really don't know what's happening because there are no changes being made. It's almost like the worst possible decision, at least for our store, is what keeps coming down the line. And I have employees that are sitting here, they're doing hard labor, they're doing manual labor. I wouldn't really say it's hard, but it's definitely manual labor, and it's time intensive, and it wears down on my employees when I'm sitting there watching them work 8, 9, 10, 12-hour shifts, depending on who the person is. And then the very next day, all that hard work that they put in to make a product, they're watching this product just being thrown away. And it makes it hard for me as their boss to keep enforcing, hey, we got to get this done. We got to get this done. We got to get this done. It's very disheartening to try to keep that push going, to keep them motivated and inspired to keep doing basically their job when they're seeing so much of their labor being thrown out. Now, the ones that have been around for a while, they kind of know how things work, and they're just accepting of it. They don't even pay it any mind. They're still disheartened by it, but they're still going to come in every scheduled shift, and they're going to come in and they're going to perform, and they're going to complete their task for the day. But when we take what we're experiencing and we try to pass it back up, is like we're 70% of the stuff that we're making is not even being used. It's not being donated. It's literally going into a dumpster and being thrown out. And it irritates me to see the livelihoods of people and just the morale. That's the biggest thing, is the morale. It's hard to maintain that morale and motivation, like I was saying, when they're just watching their work go to the trash. And when we try to pass that back up, and it's like, look, this percentage is going to waste. We're doing this on a consistent basis. I could understand if it was like a one-off, or maybe it's just a poor week or even a poor month that business is just slouching, where the customer base just isn't there to achieve the sales goals that we're looking for. I can understand an entire month of this happening, but when it's been going on for years, months, back to back, it's the exact opposite. We actually have the good week, or maybe 2 to 3 weeks, on a rare occasion, maybe a month. And that's a stretch to say that we achieved our sales goals. But when we put the information back up the chain, when it comes back down, they're asking for more work, for more stuff to be made, instead of making what I would deem the right decision. Okay, let's rethink of what we got going on here. Let's pull the actual numbers for this location and deep dive into it and see what's really going on. Could it be a quality control issue? Majority of what we have is not a quality control issue. We have very good workers, and for the most part, they really do good work. I really think that it comes down to just bad calls. People they're so far invested into this one bad decision, or maybe it's several bad decisions that just kind of get rolled into one. And it's like they've already put that out there, and the second they back away from it, it gives them complete loss of control of what their vision was. If the vision wasn't right to start with, you're better off to cut your loss and maybe recalculate your vision, see where things went wrong, take some ownership, and look into what's in front of you. You have people that have seen this day in, day out. It's not just one person looking at this. It's multiple people looking at it in the same location, and we're trying to yell it from the top of our lungs that, hey, this isn't right. Please look at this and reevaluate. And it seems like it just keeps going unanswered. So that's, to me, that might just be a little vent. That was maybe something I just had to get off my chest, get off my heart. I've been feeling it lately, and I just wanted to share that. And it kind of tied into where I was talking about the work ethic. If we have young people that are struggling with work ethic, and then we have people at the top of the chain that, in my opinion, they're struggling with work ethic. It's almost like they're just doing enough to get by, or they just keep coming in doing the same thing day in, day out, and it's not like they really have a passion for it. There are a lot of days where I might start my shift off passionate, and then something happens that kind of puts a downer on my day. I try to push through it, but on the inside, it takes a toll on you, regardless, or depending on like what you're having to deal with for the day. So with both of those kind of out there, I also feel that, and this kind of stems from both sides of those conversations that I were talking about, that as a whole, people are just in general getting too soft to deal with things, whether it's at your job, at home, whatever the case may be. And by soft, I mean overly sensitive. There are a lot of people that take too much to heart, or they become overly passionate about something, which I loved seeing somebody that gets passionate about something. But when you take it a little bit overboard, or maybe you're passionate about something that doesn't really matter. I mean, if it works for you, fine, great. I'm proud for you. I'm happy for you. But when you take it over and it's to the point where you're trying to push that onto someone else, that's kind of where I take a hard stand against it. Like me coming out with this podcast, I'm going to put out my opinion, and it's what I feel and I believe. I'm not trying to push an agenda or push my opinion onto someone else. If you click onto my podcast and you're still listening, that's by your choice. Apparently something I'm saying has grabbed your attention and you're still with me. If I can reach that, I'm happy. The big thing that I want to do is if you want to say that I'm trying to push an agenda, the only agenda that I could be seen as pushing is trying to invoke thought, motivation, and inspiration. I'm not trying to tell you what to be inspired about or what to be motivated about. I'm not even trying to really tell you what to think about. I put out different things, and like this, I'm talking about work ethic and people becoming softer or more sensitive over time. If I say some people are oversensitive or they don't have a great work ethic, maybe you hear that and you take it in a completely different direction. Great. I'm not trying to tell you that, hey, you need to go back to work and bust your tail for $8 an hour. No. At that point, if you're at a low-paying job as that, then maybe it's time to reevaluate yourself and invest in trying to find something to better yourself with. If that's all you can get, hey, go in and rock it, man. I'm not going to knock anyone that gets out, works their job, and they bring in an income, and they're somehow managing to survive with whatever the pay rate is. I am proud for those people. I applaud those people. It's the ones that get out there and, yeah, maybe they show up to work every day, but are they showing up to work with that poor attitude or the poor mentality or barely any work ethic, and they're dragging down and bringing down the morale of everyone around them? If you're going into work and you're being that draw on someone else, you don't need to be there. You need to figure out something about yourself before you put yourself back in an environment like that and take a toll on the people around you that actually may care about their job, that do want to be there. If you don't want to be there, quit being there. But kind of going back into the topic of people becoming overly sensitive. So I was reading earlier today that a lot of this is linked to social media platforms that are out right now. The fact that so much communication takes place, and just the fact that it's being text-based. So whether it's an email, a text message, a chat message, whatever, it's in written form. There's no face-to-face contact. There's no vocal contact. There's no telling when you receive a message or when you send a message, the receiver of that message, what infliction are they going to see or have in their brain when they're reading the message that you've sent out to them. I've spent several minutes because I'm having to send out a group message that multiple people are going to sit there and read. And I've had to sit there and take 10, 15 minutes to construct a text message that conveys the information that I need them to see and try to do it in a way that is not going to be misconstrued or mistaken. And next thing I know, I have someone coming into work and they're in a foul mood towards me because they didn't understand what I wrote. That in itself, it creates a stressful environment, and it also creates anxiety. There's a lot of negative connotations that can be pushed off with just a text-based communication system. Take a look at most homes today. Most homes today don't even have an active telephone in their house outside of their mobile device. So many people sit there and they live on that mobile device, and instead of calling Aunt Jane or Uncle Joe or Grandma or Grandpa, brothers, sisters, aunts, uncles, whoever, instead of calling, usually there's just a message or maybe they'll send a picture. But losing that human interaction, it kind of takes away from everything. And psychologically, that kind of wears on people over time. And there's been psychological studies showing that that is not helping to evolve our society. It's kind of de-evolving them. And from all the added pressure, stress, anxiety, etc., it makes people more tense and more liable to react irrational. If you get a text that it was intended with a positive connotation, say you did something at work and your boss missed you on before you clocked out. So they send you a message going, "Good job." And then maybe you had something that didn't quite go right, but it was either overlooked or nobody really paid attention to it, but it kind of stuck out in your mind. You don't know if your boss saw it or not. And then you sit there and see that message, hey, you just clocked out, you're on your way home or just on your way to your car, and you get that little ding, and you look at your phone and you're like, "Good job. Are you being smart? Are you trying to call me out? What's going on here?" When in reality, they're just saying, "Hey, you did a great job today." There's no tone to it, and it's so easily to be mistaken. And then people aren't saying, "Hey, what were you talking about when you said good job? Like, what part stuck out to you?" There's no conversation about it. People just kind of take it as, majority of the time, they're going to take it with a negative meaning attached to it. And that's not always the case. When I have messages or information that I need to pass along to my coworkers and my employees, I try to do as much of it face to face. And if it's something I need to spread to multiple people, I try to get as many people involved so they can sit there and listen to the information as I'm trying to pass it down to them. That way I know that they heard it directly from me. There's no mistaking what I'm meaning by it. And even the trusted members that I'm passing information to, anyone that's not there at the moment, I know for a fact they're going to pass it down to the rest of their coworkers with the same meaning and tone that I gave it out. That it's not going to be like the telephone game where I say something to 3 people, and then when it gets to the rest of the people that weren't there or maybe a later shift, that they're going to get the exact same information that I put out. Well, I know this episode, it's getting a little bit on the longer side. Some of it was kind of a vent, but I really feel that there are other people out in the world today that are probably going through the same thing that I am. I just want to make sure that maybe I want to make sure that I'm not misinterpreting what I'm going through based off of what someone else may be going through. If you have a better explanation of it, by all means, please reach out to me and let me know where you're coming from. If you have better understanding, or maybe some of the data that we're seeing is not exactly correct based off of a corporate standard, I really don't know, but I just know for single locations, because I've seen multiple locations that are dealing with the same thing within the same company, that if I were the business owner, I would jump in and change something immediately. I would, maybe let it go on for a few weeks and just try to see, like, if there a pattern or something. But if that pattern keeps trending in the negative direction and it's going to end up costing me more money than necessary, then there's got to be some reevaluation done and things have to get fixed. Going back to the youth, if you're a parent, please take a few moments, spend some time with your children and try to teach them basic things. Don't just put them out into the wild and expect someone else to be their parent. Yes, we take on younger people, and yes, we have to teach them and train them how to do jobs, but there is kind of an expectation of basic level things that most people understand, and we're sitting there having to teach a 17 or 18-year-old person how to sweep a floor. I kind of feel that's something that should have been taught at home. Please don't send your children to work to learn life skills, or at least those life skills. If you want to send them to me to learn a trade, how to advance within the same company, yes, that I can teach all day long and I have no problems with. But on the other hand, I shouldn't be an overpaid babysitter. So that's kind of a vent, a little bit of a rant, but it was something that's kind of sitting on my heart. I want to see if anyone else is going through any of this kind of thing. If you want to reach out to me, you can find me at benshelbrook.com. That's the website we just got up recently. My email is ben@benshelbrook.com, BEN@BENSHELBROOK.com. And you can even find me on TikTok at Ben Shelbrook. If you want to shoot anything at my way that you think I might find interest in, by all means, jump on there, follow me, share your messages, share your videos. I'd love to see all of that. With that said, I'm going to call this the end of the video, or not the end of the video. I'm doing audio recording, not video. So this is going to be the end of the podcast. Once again, thanks to Intertwined for the intro and outro music. Great job, guys. Love the music. Keep it up. You can find them on Spotify. Link will be in the description box. Other than that, if you want to show any financial support, you can go to buymeacoffee.com/Ben Shelbrook. Also on the benshelbrook.com in the upper right-hand corner, there's a link for support. It leads to the exact same link. Other than that, I wish each and every one of y'all a wonderful day. Get out and enjoy some of this beautiful weather that we're experiencing, and take some time for yourself. Spend some time with your kids, your significant other, whoever. But take a couple minutes for yourself. Relax, all right? And I'll catch y'all next time. Bye-bye.